All right. It has been a while since I've done this.
Have fun and be very opinionated.
I am live. Should show up for you. At least want to see that. Yeah? It doesn't say one. There we go. I'll do something really quick. Let's do this. Money is a very complex topic to entertain. And I feel the call to talk about it because of the old taboos that it brings up in a lot of my themes and individual and collective consciousness. And I feel as a theme, it has been something that I have been experimenting with for quite some time. And where do I want to drop the needle on money? Well, what is the most common ground in terms of the problem with money? Because what I'm doing, I'm trying to listen to what exactly is calling for a response. Because I can go to many different territories of experiments, of evolution, of perception, perspective, opinion. And there is still, as I get closer and closer to the heat, to the flame of this concept, I do feel the shame and guilt and emotional baggage to even talk about this publicly. What is our shared context here? Well, it feels, I guess, important to, lay down a foundation of where I'm coming from. In terms of status, in terms of life experience. And I do feel the taboo. You're not supposed to talk about this stuff. You're not supposed to talk about this stuff. Which is so funny. I can feel the protection, the security here to challenge this. So bear with me. So I was raised somewhere in that range of middle to upper class. Not extremely upper class, but in that range of middle and upper, depending on which side of the family we're really talking about there. And raised culturally Jewish. So there was a lot of baggage around monitoring and being very conscious about how much you were spending and not to waste, and even to certain extents, the Great Depression sort of memories and history in the family, and what that meant. And there was I guess, a fine teeter-totter of the enjoyment of it, the indulgence of it, the luxury of it, but also on the other side was the carefulness of it, the 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 it can go at any moment, so you gotta be prepared for that to be a possibility at all times. And it's even hard to put words to this, but it's like there was both. There was the carefulness, the not abundance, and the abundance, especially with whatever side of the family that I was on post-divorce. And so I grew up with a relationship to money that was both unaware of it, but also very conscious of it, if that makes sense. And wasn't poor to the sense of ever needing anything. Uh, but a certain amount of guilt, as I would learn, in having it, in almost being taught like not to show that you have it. And fast forward to kicking ass at an opportunity to work for SpaceX after high school and getting an epic opportunity after SpaceX of not necessarily needing to find a job right away to replace it, but using what I had earned there and some other stocks and things that I had gotten for gifts and things over time. Not like a whole inheritance, but just a buildup of things that I had gotten growing up, birthday gifts and holidays and all the things that kind of built up a cool nest egg of an opportunity here. And there was a push-pull dynamic of a guilt for having it, coupled with not knowing how to use it and not feeling comfortable with how to use it or the ability to use it. And this was about the time that I was getting into my own personal development, getting out of college, and really starting to ask myself bigger questions about purpose and meaning and for the first time in my life giving me the choice of like, well, what do I want to do if I'm not living to please others? Which was a big possibility plate uh, to digest when I had really not allowed myself that opportunity uh, out of the way that I was wired to turn down my own volume and take myself out of the equation to keep other people happy or to try to keep other people happy. And so the money became a focal point of use, of purpose, because I was taught not to waste it. And so I wasn't really into the frivolous material collection, um, even to a certain extent, not even traveling experiences spending. So I had a really tight pocket of, well, it has to mean something, it has to be important, um, can't be frivolous, can't be wasteful. Uh, and I guess just a whole lot of rules around money, um, especially in hindsight with the guilt of having it. Um, when other people don't, and you're supposed to feel bad that you have it, um, and that guilt somehow assuages the other people not having it. And I don't know. Guilt is a weird monster in and of itself, connected to money. Um, and I can definitely do another a video on that. But in terms of money in as a player in my life and as a theme of evolution, this tight pocket opened up the opportunity to invest in one of my ideas of many, but an idea that actually rose to the top of purpose. And this happened to be a comic book idea that I would develop with a group of talented artists, uh, and with a mission of mental health empowerment behind it. It was another early entrepreneurial experiment of bringing an idea to life and creating a physical product. And this experiment opened up, in terms of sharing my conscious evolution and insight into how I operate and how I rebel and go to extremes in order to test things, really came down to seeing money in an almost, what was the relationship? Money represented the ability to create and build this comic book franchise. But I was also using it over here with spirituality and the law of attraction to kind of not pay attention to it, almost like in a blind faith, blind trust experiment of, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about it. I don't care. Because I, at the time, really wanted the experience of what it was like to be an artist. I had never, as tangibly as it did then, with a team of other artists that were what I would consider artists, to me, allowed me to actually feel like an artist when everything about how inadequate I felt and untalented I felt got to come to the table and play. And so I finally got to exercise those creative, artistic muscles of my lane of concept and vision and leadership. And I mean, I guess that verges into business, but as an artist, the seeing a vision and collaborating with others and bringing it to life, full and rich and layered, and as I aspired to be, watching all the great artists that inspired me growing up. And I kind of put the blinder up because maybe I didn't understand the value of it, but also didn't care about the value of it, and also experimenting at the extreme of ignoring it, uh, out of the experiment of ignoring it to see what happens. Again, maybe with that trust of like, well, law of attraction's got me. I'll manifest this shit. It's all good. And that positive thinking and mindset got me pretty far. Like we did it. We made 3 issues of the comic book. We did a successful Kickstarter. I got to speak at Comic-Con. I mean, we lived the dream, but at the end of the day, because I was ignoring all the business and all the marketing, it wasn't sustainable. So I hit a wall of financial constraint that ceased the operation and dropped me back down a peg of status and ability to play at that level of investment. It shot me down, uh, slash failure, however you want to define that. But I got a lot out of that experiment. That experiment, I wasn't totally conscious of it, but I see why now I had to go to those extremes of spending, of investing, of entrepreneurial tries and artistic endeavor and mission driven activity. And so I think I've given a view of money there with my experience for you to relate to or not. Because on one hand, I could have seen that as, well, fuck this spirituality bullshit. Manifesting doesn't work. I trusted the law of attraction that I would attract all the money to keep this going, and it failed, and the law of attraction didn't work. I didn't attract the audience for it, or whatever whatever way you want to look at it. That's one way of looking at the experiment. Like, fuck this spiritual bullshit, all this energy work and manifestation, and just be positive thinking, and you're going to create your own reality. And I hit all the walls that could make me question the faith in light and love and oneness and all the things that I thought the money would prove. That if it's all one and I'm manifesting and creating reality, then all the money is going to flow effortlessly. And that wasn't the case. One way of looking at it. But where it actually sat me with money was questioning and looking at the data about what money symbolizes, especially in regards to debt and guilt, the need to, debt and guilt as almost the same thing. That was a huge kind of analysis to see debt as a symbol of guilt, that how much of a bad person that operating system programs into us. that if you have debt, then you are somehow lower status or bad. You're a bad person, um, especially if you can't pay it back. And there was plenty of credit cards that I just flat out just ignored in this experiment, in this extreme, going to these extremes. Um, but I didn't give a fuck. Uh, I did. I rebelled against the seriousness and stakes of credit ratings and the money game uh, that somehow makes money and status and identity all the same thing. Questioning that whole identity structure and that survival of the fittest operating system, I guess you could call it. Um, but back down to money. I would continue to explore the traumas and the guilt I was carrying and all the time associated with generational guilt and trauma. Fast forward a little bit more, and into, I guess, what you could call the latest in experimenting with money, and that is what I've heard Elon Musk in interviews talk about. And he's one of the richest people on the planet. So I take his views on money uh, with more than a few grains of salt. Um, as I reapproach freshly all the preconceptions about my relationship to money and opinions about money, because I think when you're raised with it and you don't have to want it, you have it. And I guess maybe haven't earned it. That's part of the guilt. You don't understand the value of it, maybe. And so coming at it freshly, it's like I could see that old judgment relationship to be almost repellent to it because it's ignored. It's not taken, it's not honored, it's not valued. And there's an extreme there that I think is productive to a certain extent because it allows one to free themselves from the seriousness of that matrix, to explore how intertwined with identity and survival that it actually is, and to detach from all those old tentacles of desire of it as the main fuel of one's passion and motivation. And so coming at it freshly, it's like I understand about myself that I cannot be purely motivated by money. I will rebel against that. I will things will not excite me sustainably if I'm only doing it for money. There's no the half life is it'll die very quickly if the motivation is solely just for money. Not saying I haven't done that or but I'm saying there's no long game to that for me, like with other people maybe. And I'm guessing my audience probably is like me too, where you're not primarily motivated by money. but drop a comment, let me know if that's incorrect. Because this is a dialogue, not just a monologue. Got to remember that. But so coming at it freshly, it's like, yes, I understand that about myself. This is not about trying to be motivated by money. This is trying to clean my relationship to it. Trying to see and fall in love with it in a way that is in alignment with it. And so that brings me to Elon Musk. And his definition of money is information used to track resource distribution over time, space, and dimension. Money is information, resource distribution used across time, space, and dimension. Because from the spiritual, I am fully on board that everything is energy. That I feel resonant in my heart quite deeply, as very true. That everything is energy. I mean, I think science is even confirming that on a quantum physics level of the nature of reality. But that's over there. That's the spirituality over there. But to bring it down to earth and say money is information, it puts me right into a database, spreadsheets, rows and columns of data that are just zipping along time, space, and dimension to illustrate resource distribution. It lands it, it makes it, it takes the meaning out of it, it takes the emotion out of it, it makes it purely a logical thing of a tool that we use in civilization to distribute resources and to have the information of what resources we're distributing. And so I took that and really sat with that for a very long time, and I've been experimenting with it in terms of looking at what money is and treating it as such, and also not feeling guilty about it or feeling ashamed about it or really being emotional about it. Or as little emotion as possible, because what other emotion does it need if it's not so tied to the feeling of my status? I mean, that's really the rebellious act here, I feel, is to disentangle. I mean, first off, is that status, like what money means about me as a person. But even deeper and probably the more challenging is how much it can be disentangled from our sense of survivability. That is a challenging one. But if you can entertain this for a second, I would say that money, when we're operating from that survival mode, is used to almost like project into the future the survival of ourself and our family as into the future linearly. And there's a lot of intelligence to that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's it's productive. It's useful. It's smart. but it is also very limiting and conditional, because then all the swings and the waves of the ups and downs, of the gains and losses, we're at the almost the victimization of that dynamic. We're not surfing those waves are surfing us at that point, if that makes sense. We're not creating it, it's happening to us. Money is the external force that sways us up and down. Money has power over us in that operation. When money is tied to that linear survival, which is not necessarily about the body's survival, it's about our identity surviving, that, talk about an opinion. Like this, to challenge that's why I'm saying this is the more difficult side of this. But if you can see the painting here of money having power over the human being, means all the ups and downs are happening to the human being. And especially the downs, like a down day on the market suddenly makes you have a bad day because it's so entangled. It's so emotional. It's so tied to the, downward. Oh God, it's death. We can't have that. Because if that goes down to there and that goes down to there, that means I'm going to die at the end of the day. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's not something wrong, but it's something that can be challenged deeper. There's a refinement here. There's such an empowerment here to disentangle the conditions of money having power over the human being. And because I'm proud, like I'm just giving you an insight into my experimentation, what I'm running here, because that dynamic takes all the power away, and you're powerless to the swings, rather than surfing. You're getting thrashed or upped. If there's an up, of course you're going to be elated and it's going to be amazing. But there's always going to be that fear of the down then. Money is information. And so disentangling that dynamic to see unconditional love versus money is information distinctly takes away the importance of status, challenges the notions of worthiness, esteem, and through all of this to where we are today, and what we're focusing on is a clearer view of the flow of energy versus the one lane of information that we call money. Because I think we're all here because we care about the quality of our energy. My DNA is to be passion driven. I don't think I could operate in any other way but through purpose. I was just thinking the other day that I know a lot of people talk because they love to hear themselves speak. And I'm the total opposite. If there's no need to talk, I don't want to talk, which is why it makes it a miracle that I do these things. Because there's something greater here that allows me to do it, because in the efficiency of being, I don't need to do it. So yes, the drive here, but it's almost the aim of the performance of the flow, the state of flow state, when in intelligence, in evolutionary focus, I almost see it as like a recalibration of, well, we're either kind of zoomed in, isolating like one lane of energy that's called money, which is just a string of information of resource distribution. But I think if we were to zoom out to see the flow of energy in a much more macro way, it really diminishes all that extra meaning that money has, and you are more free to enjoy the spoils of awakening and evolving your consciousness. And I don't think there's any greater magic and majestic vibes than mastery and opening up to the greater mystery of yourself. And at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you have or how fast you can make it, or your status of having it and where that puts you compared to others. But it's about how magical and alive reality feels right now. The quality of your energy. Thank you for the likes, and I hope to be back doing this maybe more regularly. We'll see. I dug it. I think there's going to be a resurgence of these lives, because I hear you. I hear my audience more clearly than I ever have given myself the ability or esteem or worthiness to feel and listen to. So if you have any questions, comments, confusions, or ideas for what you dig me to talk about, please drop them here. And because I love responding, I believe that's how I'm designed to respond. See ya.